We're going to dive into a specific district and see what we can figure out using UKG dimensions. So let me pull up my dimension sandbox here. And here I'm logged in as Lisa Peterson. She's our regional HR director, right? And she's going to take a look at what's going on. We see our dashboard here, all kinds of great stuff. She really cares about overtime. You can see there's a lot of overtime analysis going on here. She knows that that's a symptom she needs to address. And so the first thing that she wants to do is dive into forecast. So this is a forecast planner for retail built into Dimensions. It's a great tool for figuring out what's going to happen in the coming week. So we're going to look at next week as an example here, and we can see the sales forecast for our district. This is using historical data to generate this forecast, and we'll dive into a specific location as well. We saw, I noticed on that preliminary dashboard that store 74 actually had a lot of overtime and a lot of problems going on there. So I'm gonna pick on them a little bit here. So I'm looking at their sales forecast for next week, and it looks pretty reasonable. You know, Sunday through Wednesday is pretty good. You can see Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that's when we get busy, right? We start getting busy. And we talked about, you know, what is our forecast based off of, right? Is this a realistic, you know, forecast as well, right? So I know that there's been changes in the business. We haven't been staffed up as well. We've been missing our plan, you know, by 10, 15%. We need to adjust this. So working with my operations team, finance team, we figure out there's some adjustments that need to be made here. So for example, I think Friday is a little optimistic. I can change that down, right? So I'm going to change that to $4,500. Saturday, that's way above what I think we can actually clear out. So I need to create a realistic expectation, a realistic, you know, volume of business that I think we can hit. That's going to allow me to understand what my staffing needs really are, right? So this one I'm going to bump down to $5,500. And what you'll see here, there's a relationship that is built into the system here between the sales, the number of items sold, and the transactions that are done here. And when I calculate the totals, it's going to change these numbers here to match this, you know, what I adjusted in sales, right? So it has that relationship in there. It's going to break it down. That's important because that determines how much labor we actually need, right? So save my forecast. I've created a forecast that I think we can actually hit next week. Now I can dive into labor. How much labor is it going to take to do this, right? And so here I can, you know, run the labor, and it's going to generate this labor forecast, how many hours per day to do that business, right? Now, normally I would rerun this labor, adjust it off that new forecast. I'm not going to do that right this second because I have my forecast already kind of set for labor, but I'll show you some other interesting ways of looking into this. I can pick a job, like our checkout job, and dive into it even deeper. You can get really analytical here and look at the labor, the head count, right, for this associate job every day, like every 15-minute period. Right? You can get real deeply analytical in there and see what's going on, where that demand is. But this really just to highlight, this is how the system is generating that demand. So our forecast, how much business we're going to do, how many people do we need to do that much business, right? That's our labor forecast here. So now we can look at a schedule. We're going to dive into the schedule for store 74 as well. So I'm going to go ahead and select that location. And then I'm going to pull up next week's schedule. Okay, we see this beautiful schedule here. We've got everybody filled in. I ran the generate schedule option, which allowed me to generate open shifts and then assign those open shifts. There's an engine in the application. If you're unfamiliar with the dimensions, optimized scheduling product. It takes into account when people are available, what jobs they can do, how many hours a week should they be scheduled, and then it applies that to that workload. And here you can see the result of that. It looks pretty good at first glance, but then we can take a look down here at this really nifty graph that shows us our coverage. So that red line is the labor demand that we generated. And then the purple blue line is how many people are actually scheduled to meet that demand. And we're not doing too bad. Sunday through Wednesday looks pretty good, but then you see Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we've got some issues here. We can actually hover over this and see that there's, how many people are planned to be there. Here it's 6 people planned and there's only 3 people scheduled. So that's going to be tough to handle that. We can see here 5 people planned, 3 people scheduled. So here's an illustration of our labor shortage in this location, right? You can just see it right here. And this is, important to have this line of sight. This is what managers can see in the application. They'll know where they're understaffed. Up here, you can see the open shifts that were left to be assigned. So we've got 3 shifts on Friday that need to be assigned. They're all closing shifts. Thursday, we've got a couple. Saturday, we've got 4 shifts that need to be assigned. We don't have anybody to really assign them to, though. It's going to be a tough order to fill, right? So we need to hire some folks up. One thing also, if we look here, we've got Eliana Rivera. She's been an awesome employee for us. She's been sticking it out with us through the pandemic. She helps us cover our closing shifts on Friday and Saturday. She's quite the expert. She's gonna have a tough night Friday and Saturday night. And, hopefully we're going to hire in, right? We'll find some people to fill in these shifts here, but they're going to be new people. She's going to have to train them up and support them on the floor. We should find some way to recognize that and support her. There's some different ways of doing that. One simple way, that we can do is we can put a premium pay code on there for her. So we want to reward her, make sure she knows that she's going to be, rewarded for supporting that shift. She's a trainer, so we're going to give her a trainer shift premium that day and apply it to that date for her. So now she's got an extra premium there. That could be, $1 an hour. It could be a whole shift premium. There's a ton of different ways to do that. It's just a simple way that you can, go in and support them and, show them, that you're rewarding them dealing with all those new faces and a tough schedule, right? So this is, very detailed at one location level, but we're dealing with an entire district too. So how can we look at this at a higher level and really turn this into something that we can prescribe an action to for this whole district? Because this whole district's suffering. So we have a data view here. Data views are kind of these, living reports, right? So you can create data views and gather all kinds of different information live from the application and see what's going on. Here I have an open shifts by location data view. And so what this pulls up is all of the open shifts for next week in this whole district, right? And I have it filtered down to just the associate job, right? That has the biggest impact on our stores. And so here I can see all of the open shifts for this district. We can see, wow, we've got quite a few open shifts for next week. Looking at it, just kind of looking at it this way, I can see they're all closing shifts, it looks like. Some mids in there, but mostly closing shifts, right? So everything kind of crossing that closing barrier is what we're seeing here. And so this gives me a quick way of kind of coming up with a summary of that information. Now you can start sharing that information. So let's say I want to export it because I'm an Excel nerd, so I'm really into that. I want to pull up my Excel sheet and share that. So I exported that, do a little, Excel magic in there, and you can see it in a little different way. So I exported that information, and then I took this column, I just changed the date format. So it was like this, just, month, day. but I really wanted to look at it by the day of the week and come up with a prescription of what the issue is here. So I can start figuring out like, okay, which days of the week are we suffering across this whole district? Now I can see here Sunday has 1 open shift, Monday has 2, 3 open shifts, Tuesday has 3, Wednesday 3, Thursday's a problem. We've got 11 open shifts there. Friday has 12 open shifts, and Saturday, all right, we've got 12 open shifts here. So now they're all closing shifts. So now I have this piece of information I can start sharing. I take this, send this over, say, to my HR analyst that handles recruiting and say, hey, we need to do something about this. This is my prescription to all of our symptoms, right? To the sickness that we have going on in this district. We need Thursday, Friday, and Saturday closers across the whole district. Maybe let's have a hiring blitz, right? Let's do a job fair, but let's make sure we're specific about what the need is, right? It is closers. You know, I need people from 5 p.m. till 10:30 to show up for this. So that way, a bunch of people show up, they start going through the interviews, they actually fit what I need as a store manager. That's an amazing thing when I get to interview people that are actually fit the availability of what I need, and I don't have to sort through that piece. This becomes really helpful. It's truly a prescription to the problem that I have as a store manager.
That's awesome. And it makes a ton of sense to be as specific as you can. Like you said, it almost optimizes the recruiting process before it starts. If you say, we need people to close on Friday, and it also opens up, if someone's like casually looking for a job, it could be like a second job where it's just Friday, Saturday, Sunday after 5 p.m., you know, like it opens up the pool too. So it's a really good point. I think it makes a lot of sense that we looked at it as the symptom being shrink, look at the data, really figure out exactly what's missing, and then having that very specific solution. So thank you for that. That was awesome.